All right, welcome back to the channel. Subscriber Eddie Hearns pushing for Dillian Whyte versus Andy Ruiz. All I got to say about that is, yeah, that sounds about right. It sounds about right. Rehash somebody coming up off of a loss who's probably currently off somewhere depressed and set him up for a loss against Dillian Whyte. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you are not subscribed, I hope you accept my invitation to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. Also, special thank you to everybody that supports the channels in the through joining the channel membership, through supporting on the live streams we do every Monday through Friday, right around 11:15 a.m. Central Standard Time, and OG Boxing Talk on Sunday with my co-hosts and everybody else that has joined the Patreon. Thank you guys so much for your support. Looking forward to a big 2020 in boxing. Not necessarily a big January though, because not too much is popping off. We had some decent fights. We had the Clarissa Shields fight in Jaron Ennis last weekend. Wasn't too big on the Jaime Munguia fight, or the Jesse Hart, Joe Smith fights. But we've had a little bit, here and there. But one fight that it seems people are trying to make that I have some interest in, but at the same time, it just really does fit that same, the same mode that you get from Matchroom, and that is Dillian Whyte potentially fighting Andy Ruiz. As you know, Andy Ruiz just came off of a loss, actually, man, a quite humiliating loss against Anthony Joshua, where he came in just really gigantic, got outboxed every second of the fight, and he made a lot of money. But just, not a real solid performance, man, especially considering everything he had to gain from to win in that fight. And for him not to come in there prepared, not to become ready, really ready to fight it was just a shame. But, it makes sense, though, that Eddie Hearn would, of course, want him to fight Dillian Whyte. Because, hey, man, these guys, the thing that gets me about, now, I don't have anything. Well, I don't like Dillian Whyte because he just talks too much. He lies too much. He just makes up a bunch of crap. I don't appreciate, and I will get into his D-ball, and he's a two-time drug cheat in my eyes. Two-time drug cheat and a one-time glove cheat, right? I just think that it's just something really, really foul and about the way that dude proceeded with that Reeves fight, and just him making up crap about having seen Deontay Wilder twitching on the ground in a sparring match several years ago. Man, this doesn't make any sense. Shout out to my man, Mr. Boxing Today too, who pointed this out. He said that Deontay Wilder, when he was in training camp with Vladimir Klitschko, was the chief sparring partner for Vladimir Klitschko. Why would Emmanuel Stewart keep Deontay Wilder in camp if he had been knocked out so bad that he was laying on the face unconscious and twitching? If you get knocked out like that, you get put through concussion protocols and you actually have to sit out for a considerable amount of time. Why would Deontay Wilder continue to work with the guy as his chief sparring partner? Now, getting knocked down is one thing. I wouldn't have any reason to believe that the dude didn't get knocked down. Matter of fact, my understanding is that Ali Bashir said that the fight that Vladimir Klitschko did knock Deontay Wilder up, but Deontay Wilder got up and kept fighting, right? But somehow Dillian Whyte changes the story to he sees him laid out unconscious and twitching. Dillian Whyte's just a liar, man. He's a liar, man. The dude is a dope. He's a drug cheat. He's a drug cheat and a liar. He never took the B sample. He never got his B sample tested. All they did is extend the same leniency that allowed him to get into the ring under the influence of D-ball to Oscar Rivas, and then announced the day before his next fight that what they already had announced before, that they cleared him because they believe his explanation. Dillian Whyte the dude is seriously, man. The whole situation is disgusting. But it doesn't surprise me that they would want him to fight Andy Ruiz next, because that is what part of the mechanism for Matchroom with the heavyweights and keeping this ranking, like this idea that they're all fighting top competition, is that when one guy loses to another, the loser fights somebody else that lost to the guy. So you have Dillian, you have Anthony Joshua, who has fought Andy Ruiz, Dillian Whyte, Alexander Povetkin, and Carlos Takam, right? And then Andy's fought Joseph Parker. So Joseph Parker fights Dillian Whyte. Joseph Parker fights Derek Chisora, the Derek Chisora that fought Dillian Whyte. And then Andy Ruiz lost to Anthony Joshua. So no, Andy Ruiz can now go fight Dillian Whyte. And then Joseph Parker, who is now signed to Matchroom, can fight Alexander Usyk, who Joseph Parker, who fought Anthony Joshua, will now fight Usyk, who's the mandatory for Anthony Joshua, and it's just one big circle of fighters fighting each other. Now, the guy that is missing from this, the guys that are missing from this are the best, the three of the four, in my opinion. Three of the four best heavyweights in the world are completely missing from that whole equation that people use to say, oh, who are those guys fighting? They're not fighting anybody. Well, you're just fighting a bunch of guys that just lost. You're fighting a bunch of guys that just lost. Dillian Whyte fought Joseph Parker after Joseph Parker lost. Dillian Whyte beat Derek Chisora after Derek Chisora lost multiple times. Derek Chisora beat Carlos Takam, who lost to Anthony Joshua. These guys have all lost to each other. But because they've all lost to each other and some have beaten each other, they wind up, according with these point systems, getting more credit for fighting and losing to each other, while the guys that are the better fighters aren't fighting, that they're not fighting, and on many occasions they specifically chose not to fight, don't get ranked that high because they're not getting the opportunities to fight. When are they gonna pick off Luis Ortiz? Just wondering. When are you gonna pick off Luis Ortiz? When is somebody gonna say, oh, Luis Ortiz, yeah, that's, he lost, he got knocked out twice by Deontay Wilder. Let's fight him. What about Dillian Whyte, Luis Ortiz? What's wrong with that fight? Oh no, he lost to Deontay Wilder twice. We can't fight him. No, you couldn't fight him before he lost to Deontay Wilder. You can't fight him but after his first loss to Deontay Wilder, so naturally you can't fight him after his second loss to Deontay Wilder. The fact of the matter is, Luis Ortiz has only lost to one guy. One guy. That's not the case with Alexander Povetkin. Okay, that's not the case. That's not the case with Andy Ruiz. It's not the case with Derek Chisora. It's not the case with a lot of those guys. They've lost to multiple people. You think you're gonna see a Luis Ortiz fight? No, you're not. No, you're not. Number one, because he's not signed with Matchroom, and Matchroom doesn't have a financial stake in him, or a closely associated stake. Like Joseph Parker is not technically promoted by Matchroom, but his promoter, right, which is probably which I think would be better to call a manager, was said that he's waiting to figure out what fight Matchroom is going to give him. Similar to, Tyson Fury's promoter is Frank Warren, although, the person that is putting on all his fights is Bob Arum and Top Rank. I don't mind seeing the fight with Dillian Whyte and Andy Ruiz. I suspect that Dillian Whyte's going to win that fight, though, because number one, he's a cheater. You don't know what he's going to come in the ring on, right? And I don't believe now that he's going to reform his ways. The amount of D-ball in your system was consistent with contamination. Yeah, it's contaminated, all right. It's contaminated by you taking a little bit of D-ball and sticking it in your mouth and swallowing it, and the half-life running out. And then you getting tested before it's all the way out of your system, so just a little bit of it is left in there. That's how microdosing works, and that's more than likely what Dillian Whyte was doing. And the fact that they allowed that guy to fight, it still boggles my mind, man, what these guys are doing. So, unless I don't see Andy Ruiz being able to beat Dillian Whyte, no matter what. Because they seen him coming and they're going to cheat, and they're going to cheat any way that they can cheat. At least that's my At least that's my take on it, man. It's a sad thing, but it is what it is. And also, Andy Ruiz more than likely is not going to get a Deontay Wilder fight anytime soon because Deontay Wilder is packed to the brim. He's not going to get that rematch with Anthony Joshua because Anthony Joshua's got a bunch of mandatories. So, just go sit him in the match room, the rematch room cycle. Go send him over to rematch room, have him keep fighting a bunch of guys that have all fought each other so they can artificially inflate each other's rankings. Anyway, it is what it is. Let me know what you think in the comment section. With that, I'm out. Peace. All right, we got a good fight coming up this weekend. J-Rock, Julian Williams, the 154-pound WBA and IBF 154-pound champion, is going to be fighting Jason Rosario in Philadelphia this week. He gave an interview ahead, or a press conference ahead of it, and he said some things I thought was really interesting, like he's planning to move up to a 160 pounds soon because making 154 pounds, and I think he said he's been making it since he's like 18 years old, or at least he said making weight since he's 18 years old has been really difficult, but he plans on moving up soon, but only after he becomes the ring champion. You disappoint me with that statement, J-Rock, but I'll get over it. Let's talk about that in this video.